What's going on, YouTube? It's Donnie B all day. Hopefully my voice is right, because for some reason the last two videos I did, they used an AI voice. I didn't set that up, so if anybody's wondering, that was not my fault. So let's get back on track today, and hopefully all is right, and all is definitely right when you have Work Tuff Gear in your hands. This one is no exception. So this is designed by Alex Aurora Borealis. Really top-notch knife designer. Really good person too, actually. Good dude. So if you buy a knife from Work Tuff Gear designed by him, you can feel good knowing that he's a quality human being. So let's get to this. This is the sheath. I do believe it comes with some kind of belt loop. I'm assuming it does. Usually I'll get them in without that, and that's okay, because I think they do come with one. I have another one from him. This is his smaller design, and I'll show you the difference. It's the smaller version of this knife in my hand, which is fantastic, and I need to wipe off some of the black stuff that's on this blade. Now these are just two really great, and I mean great, bushcraft knives. These are field knives. I mean, you hear me brag about the SE6 and the Steel Wheel Roamer, things like that. This is there. This is, when you hear me brag about those, you're going to get the same kind of brag when it comes to this kind of knife right here. This thing, you don't make a better blade shape. This thing is just perfectly done. It's perfect. The blade shape, this drop point right here, if you're going to make a drop point survival knife, this is the way you do the blade shape. It is gorgeous. That is so well done. And of course, Work Tuff Gear is going to give you a freaking great heat treat, and they're going to give you great materials, and they're going to put it together in a very great way. The sheath does have a drainage hole, tons of lashing points, and I do believe it's going to come with a belt loop. So let's get into the specs of this knife, and then we will take it out, and we will even do a side-by-side. The Voyager, put it on my leg. I'm barefoot, and it started falling off, and my foot was right under it. That was almost a D-Bad needs to make a timeout to go get stitches moment. So here you can see the two. If you have the pair, you're doing really good for yourself. I got to tell you, though, this thing right here, you could take this knife and do pretty much any knife task ever conceived of with this thing. It is a really great knife. This one is a little bit smaller. It's crazy, though, because it seems like, yeah, the grip is the same. I was thinking when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that grip is going to be way too small for me. It's not. This is a really great bushcraft knife. Now, you got to remember, with this one compared to that one, what it's made for, because this one has a very minimalistic finger well right here, even, or finger swell. It's not even a well. One thing I would love to see from Alex is just take some of the steel and make a mini guard just for the finger, because where that knife is going to have a lot more capability of penetrating forward, this one I wouldn't trust so much, because once they make them sharp over there, and once your hand goes forward, you're in a bad spot. It's not made for that, though. It's made for cutting. It's made for push away cuts, things like that, into that nature, because without a guard here, your hand can be in a very bad spot if you use it wrong, right? But if you use it right, and you know, the problem is everybody gets a knife and they come up to a task that the knife's not made for, and they say, well, it's the knife in my hand, so I'm going to use it anyway. And then it's their own fault if you cut your finger. Designed for what it's made to do, phenomenal knife. Wrong sheath. I was wondering why it was so wiggly. There we go. That's a little better. So if you wanted to know, the sheath for this one fits that one. It'll just have a little extra room. But we're going to get into this one right here. And you can see Alex pulled a really generous area to where if you do have to thrust, if you do have to push down into something, if you're trying to break tendons apart in a kill like a deer or something like that, and you want to bang it out, you can do that. Even if you want to just tenderize a really tough piece of meat, and you just want to tap, 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 you're going to be good to go with that. You're not going to have any slippage. The design on that, I think, is great. The only other design, I'm not going to say flaw, but the only other design thing I would have liked to see is maybe a little bit more of a well here, so it kicks up a little bit here, and that'll give you more at the pinky. And the only reason I say that is for chopping, because it's obviously not a chopper, but this is an all-around survival knife. And if you are out in the woods and you are out in a survival situation and you do need to chop, and this is the knife you don't have an axe and you don't have a saw and you don't have things like that, and you need to break down some wood, going here and having really no well there, no kick out, no flare, even though this is fantastic, it's not going to be made to be held in your hand to do that. It's made to be held as a knife and do all your cutting and pushes, and you can self-defense, and you can use it for everything like that. But when it comes to chopping, holding it in a proper grip, you're going to have very limited chopping ability. And I'm guessing Alex is smart enough to say, all right, well, I've designed this knife with the thought of this is your survival bushcraft, more of a bushcraft survival knife than a survival camp where you're hacking away at things. And so he's saying, okay, somebody smart enough to bring a pocket saw or a hatchet or something like that, and this will be just your knife, right? So, I mean, that's what I would assume. That's what I would assume because of the way the handle is. It just feels like it's made as a cutter and not a hitter. If you know where I'm going with that. If you know what I mean by that. I think the design is wonderful. So let's see here. Not only is it wonderful, but that is a full nest of hair right there. That is, you're talking work tough gear, edge geometry. That is 100%, 150% shave sharp. That left a smooth spot. So immediately you're getting edge geometry. And it helps that it's a saber grind where you're going to get a lot of that sliciness of like a hollow grind with more of the strength like a flat grind. That's where the saber grind comes in, and I think Alex made a very, very good choice doing that. Overall length is 10.1 inches. The blade length itself is 5.6 inches. The cutting edge is 5.4 inches. The blade thickness, it's a cutting thickness, is 0.149 inches. It is a saber grind, obviously. It says clip point, but I don't know. That right there is a smooth transition. That's a drop point. You can call it a modified clip, I guess, because of the hard bend here, but because there's no stop in the bend, that overall curvature, that is definitely a drop point. But does it matter in the wording? No, it's beautiful. The blade steel is Bowler K329 with a 5860 Rockwell. It is a satin finished blade with G10 grips. Very nicely done. And Kydex sheath. Okay, so let's take it outside. Well, we got a little overcast today. We got a bunch of rolling thunder, but it's so far off in the distance, it's nowhere around here. But you can still see in the light what this thing is all about. This is a beautiful, beautiful knife. I think that's fantastic. So good looking. But let's see how it works. All right, we have our blend of cutting materials. Oh, I just saw lightning way over there out of the corner of my eye. Stabbing down, just like I told you. I have no worries because of this little guard right here, that little swell. I have no worries. This is a really nice knife. Really no worries. You'll notice also in the rear, there's a hidden strap hole that's in there. So you can actually, if you do need to chop, you can put a lanyard in there and hold it down and use the lanyard to help with the chopping to keep your hand from slipping. So Alex really did think of things. He thought about the kind of grip he wanted for bushcraft and then thought, all right, well, what if you need to go all out survival? He made it possible. So that is there. That is absolutely there. No problems. Let's see how this edge geometry is. Oh my gosh, that was butter. That was butter. I mean, that is absolute butter smooth. That is crazy nice. I went to push on the knife and it kind of just took me there. It's like I needed to do nothing to get this beautiful clean cut. And clean cuts are really underrated, and they're actually pretty important when you're talking about survival situations, because the cleaner the cut, the easier it is for that end to be worked, to where if you have to tie something or lace something through something, having a clean cut is actually really important. That is a really nice cut right there. So let's see if we can't break this apart right here. Oh, let's see. That super easy. Super easy. You can see all the dirt on the blade from the sand and the dust that's in this rope. So let's see here. Let's get this one going. Golly, that is so nice. I cut a lot of this rope with knives. Obviously, I use a lot of different blades to cut this stuff. And the cleaner the cut, the better. This thing makes not just clean cuts, but they're really easy. So here's something. I have a big knot, and I haven't done this with any other blade because I didn't get to the knot yet. So we're going to cut straight through that, and that was absolutely awesome. This is kind of a stiffer piece right there. That is really nice. When you're talking about a cutter, an all-out cutter, that's an all-out cutter. That's fantastic. All right, let's cut something else. Let's cut some of the garden hose here. Let's cut some of the garden hose. Easy to get through. Let's put all that down there. Let's get a nice little rip here. Beautiful. Now, you'd think that, oh, that's kind of an easy thing. But if you have a dull blade or a blade with a crappy edge, what's going to happen is you're not going to slice through, you're going to skid through, and it's going to drag, and you're going to have fibers pulling through. When it's really clean, that means the edge is really good. And that edge is really good. Really good. The overall comfort and the ability to use the knife is really well done. The way it slopes, the way it holds, the thickness, everything about the grip feels really good when you're talking about a proper grip, when you're talking about that forward grip all the way to the guard, when you're holding it by the handle. That is really spectacular. That's incredibly nice. All right, so let's take a little bit of, you got to do some skinning out there in the woods. Bam, look at that. That is super nice. Now remember, this is leather, mesh, rubber, right? And you can see it's almost as thick as the blade, right? It's a really good basketball. It's a high quality basketball. And look at this. The bug just flew right in my mouth as I was talking. Say hello. All right. I don't know if that means my breath is wonderful or disgusting. All right, let's go with the long slice. Remember, on rubber, it moves, it twists, it bends. So we want to try and get that to stay up while we cut, and that'll show a lot about the edge geometry. And look at that, it's not folding over. Obviously it's going to wiggle because I'm cutting, but there was no folding. That was really, really nice. I don't know if I left myself enough room to do this, but oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah, baby. When the knife is good, it doesn't matter if you leave yourself enough room. That is fantastic. Now we have two pieces here. Let's go through 2 layers of basketball. Golly, remember, if you can shave a basketball like that, you can shave a pelt, you can shave a deer, you can shave a Bigfoot, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're going through a basketball, you're going through anything like that. Plastic hose, you're not going to find much need to cut plastic hose out in the bush, but if you do have materials to where you use for building tents or fishing, things like that, and you do need to cut something down, and you happen to actually bring materials, or you have materials at a campsite, it's nice to know that it'll work. Or if you break down on the way and you need to cut a hose in your car, it's nice to know it works. It works. Super, super clean. We'll actually go with the harder hose now. This stuff, it's really hard material, but it's a really great knife. Someone biting me on the neck. So bite me, man. Look at this. Golly, Alex. What a design. My hand is just, has so much positive traction on this grip. Like it just, even if I wanted it to be wrong, it can't be wrong. Yeah. There's no turning. Everything about it, the thickness, the way it swells this way, it locks in there, and it's really, really fantastic. So let's do some downward chopping now. The lanyard would really help, because I can feel, just by doing this, I can feel it wanting to rock out of my hand, because obviously this is round. So when this is happening, it's doing this in the palm, and without something here for this finger to grab onto, it's really wanting to go. But I guarantee you, we're still going to be able to work it. So because it's shifting in this grip, it's a little harder to do aimed chopping, because it is turning a little bit. But if I'm staying short like that, I really don't have to worry. So obviously it's a good way to make fluff, A, and B, to take down the amount of wood that you need to, where if you got to make tent spikes and pit spikes and arrows and spears and all that kind of jazz, you're going to be just fine. This thing is great. I mean, great. Like a whittling knife, as far as major whittling. I'm not talking about, making a little sheep out of a piece of balsa wood. This thing is wonderful. Wow, that is nice. That is really, really nice. This is a great knife. This is a great knife. Now remember, Work Tuff Gear doesn't pay me anything. This knife was sent to me not from Work Tuff Gear, but from Scab, Choir Boys Outdoors. If you don't know that channel, you should. And the knife, fantastic. Fantastic. I'm not getting paid to say that. So my only thing is be honest. If there's something I don't like or something I wish was different, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. Nobody's paying me to do this. This is a nice knife. You know what we need to do is find something that, just a little piece we could baton through a little bit. Let's see here. Let's see here. All right, we got a nice piece of knot right here. Knotted wood. Ooh, we are inside that big knot right there. Yeah, baby. We just went right through that. The wood's all twisted and knotted, so it was turning. It was not turning the blade, but the blade was changing direction, going straight through, though. Fantastic. This thing is sweet. I'm running out of things to cut up here. I just want to keep cutting stuff because it's so nice. Let's do something else. All right, we said it's not a chopper, but emergencies happen, and sometimes you have to chop. So I want to see, with any luck, if I can really hold on to this. Woo! I had a little skid there. It definitely cut out a little bit on the bottom. But a careful hand is going to get you there. So if you are in an emergency situation where you do have to chop and you're thinking, oh crap, I forgot my hatchet, or I couldn't carry my extra stuff, and this is what I had, you're going to get it done. You're going to get it done. It's going to work. Look at that. That's awesome. This is some hard stuff. So just because it's not a chopper by design doesn't mean it's not going to chop. There's nothing saying that a knife designed for bushcraft can't be an all-out camp survival knife. And there's a difference between camp bushcraft and camp survival. And a lot of people get it confused. But this thing is going to do a whole lot of everything. This knife is absolutely fantastic. If you're looking for a complete workhorse, get it done, carry it in the woods, have it forever, and by a company that stands by their products, tell you what, Alex did an amazing job designing this. This is the Work Tuff Gear Voyager, and it is 100% worth the money. This is a great knife. I am Donnie B all day. Until next knife.